Welcome to the channel and to my first full-length YouTube video. I want to talk about watches, which is maybe funny to some of you because I don't know much about watches. I don't consider myself a watch expert. I'm not really well versed in watch culture, but I do have a perspective on watch culture. And that's what I want to share today, is my perspectives on watch culture and why it's been hard for me to get into watches. Now, I should say that I do have friends in the watch space. I have friends at Hodinkee. I've made friends who work at Chrono24, independent watch sellers. I know a lot of people who are really into watches, and I respect them, and I see their passion. I just don't really have it for myself. And there are people who are so genuinely into the craftsmanship and the design, and I'll get to them because they are a part of watch culture, but I think it's also worth talking about other parts of watch culture that I think are more common and I don't appreciate as much. So yes, money is going to be a topic that I keep coming back to, and maybe that topic has been discussed to death within watch culture, but I would like to share my perspectives. So with that, I think we need to start at the high-end conspicuous consumption aspect. It's kind of normal to spend $100,000 on a watch. It's kind of normal to go around and talk to people about how much they spent on their watches. And the more they spent, the more cool people think the watch is, to some extent. It's not always a one-to-one. There are some watches that are expensive but stupid. And I've heard people talk badly about Hublot very often. I've heard, there's been some controversy. I've also seen watch guys defend Hublot, but at some point in my comments, people were like, oh, Hublot, that's even worse than a fake Richard Mille. So there are watches that are overpriced, or watches that are expensive but not cool. But at the same time, if you spend money on an expensive Rolex, a Rolex that costs more than your car, that is considered cool. And a lot of guys will be very excited to hang out with you, or to point out your watch and then maybe record that they saw your watch on social media. It's like with cars. People take photos of expensive cars and post them on social media. People do the same thing with watches. And that reminds me of, I can't remember if it was Derek Guy or somebody. Somebody made a joke about object fetishization, and I think people do that a lot with watches. It's just the watch, and it's expensive or it's rare, and people are excited about the thing itself and not what the thing represents or what the thing does in the context of your outfit, or appreciating the thing for what it does. But just, I have a Rolex, it's expensive, great. Spending $8,000, $10,000, whatever on a watch is considered normal. Spending $80,000 is not considered too strange, it's considered cool. And that just seems terrible to me. I hate the idea of conspicuous consumption, of flaunting wealth. You know, if you're a billionaire, I get it, why not? But at the same time, I know people who are absolutely not billionaires, who have less money than me, who waste a ton on watches. I say waste. They appreciate the watches, but they spend so much money. I want to own a house someday. And then that brings me to the sort of next tier below the expensive and the medium expensive, like Rolexes and things, which is like the starter watch, which is kind of like the starter bespoke suit, in that it's somewhere in the $2,000 to $4,000 range. Like Nomos makes beautiful watches. I appreciate Nomos's design, but they're charging thousands of dollars for a starter watch. And part of the problem with that is that people will call it a starter watch. People don't have a ton of respect for those watches, or they're like, wow, that's fine. Nomos is totally a valid watch. bruh, those are expensive to me. For the price of a Nomos watch, I could get a bespoke suit, a really, really, really high-end suit that I would wear for the rest of my life. If I were to spend that much on a watch, I would want some cachet. I would expect people to think, wow, that is a really high-end watch. It's so cool that you have that watch. That's not what those watches are. Those watches are basic intro watches. When I say basic intro watches, I feel like the guys who buy those will buy more and more expensive watches. It can't be like one little stone in a foundation of expensive watches. It would have to be, that's it. I've arrived. I have, because I'm buying a bespoke suit right now. Yes, I'm paying for it with my own money, and it's expensive. But I know that when it lands, it's going to be special. It's going to be noteworthy, like people that are going to respond in a certain way. And if I spent that amount on a watch, nobody would care. It would be just another watch. There are less expensive watches that people still respect. A Seiko 5 is a good example, and I just think, yeah, people respect that, but they don't think of it as a real watch. It's the same way like fashion guys will respect a good pair of like Levi's, like modern Levi's, but they don't have the cachet of like niche Japanese brands or vintage Levi's or anything like that. That's not even a good comparison, because I know some fashion guys who will really rock modern Levi's, and I have a lot of respect for that. But a Seiko 5 is like, oh, that's cute. You're not really into watches, but at least you have one. And they're still not cheap. They're relatively cheap, but they're not cheap. I also think about like Grand Seiko. Everybody says very nice things about Grand Seiko. Those are, to me, expensive watches, and everybody says they're great. But then people are not that into them because they're, I don't know, because they're not that expensive, because they're not that rare, because what's the problem with Grand Seiko? Is it just that they're not old enough and celebrated enough to have the evidence that they'll retain their value? So that's weird to me. There are also kitschy watches that people respect. A lot of people are into Casio and Swatch, and a lot of watch guys will own something from Casio or Swatch. People went crazy for the Omega Swatch Moon Swatch. That obviously was very hyped. But again, I look at watch guys and the Casios and the Moon Swatches and those types of watches. If they own something like that, it's their 14th watch. It's the equivalent of owning a lime green corduroy suit. You can only wear it because you want it, and you can't wear it often. But to the credit of watch guys, they do appreciate a kitschy watch. They do appreciate like a SpongeBob watch, right? And you know, I can link to some SpongeBob watches below, or a Pac-Man Casio, and like, you know, I think if I owned watches like these, watch guys would think they were cool. If I also owned a Rolex or a Grand Seiko or something like that, and I could show off, oh yeah, my AP, my, you know, if I could show off taste in expensive watches, and then also, by the way, I have some kitschy ones too. Like, yeah, I have some funky graphic tees. I don't wear them regularly, but I own them, I have them, I appreciate a good kitschy graphic tee, but that's not my identity. And similarly in watch culture, it's not my identity. It can't be your identity to only wear the kitschy watch, or else you're not a part of watch culture, really. A note on quartz watches: people respect mechanical watches more, even though quartz watches are better. They perform better. Yes, you have to replace the batteries, but you have to maintain a mechanical watch, and maintaining a mechanical watch is much more expensive than replacing the batteries on a Quartz watch. Long run, it's so much more expensive. So I don't entirely see the argument against Quartz watches, except insofar as the argument is, but the craftsmanship, but the culture, like we wear mechanical watches, we like the way they tick. And to be fair, a mechanical watch is a cool concept. It's not a perpetual motion device, obviously, but it's kind of like a perpetual motion device. It's, yeah, you put it on, you move your wrists, and that's all it takes to keep it moving. That's kind of impressive. It is an impressive mechanical feat. And that brings me to the masculinity aspect, that we're not supposed to like jewelry. Men aren't supposed to wear bracelets and rings and all those sorts of things, with a few exceptions, like a signet ring or a class ring or a wedding band or something like that. But we are allowed to wear watches, and the watches can be made of gold or white gold or what have you. They can be precious, they can be very fancy, but the angle is there's a machine in there, there's science in there, and that makes it more masculine. Or just that watches are traditionally masculine, maybe because men had places to be and they needed to know what time it was, right? I don't know, something like that. But to me, I don't need a watch to tell the time. I don't care that much about having a machine on my wrist. I'd mainly be wearing one as a piece of jewelry, as an accessory, and nothing else. That brings me back to object fetishization. That word is hard to say. I've said it multiple times in a few different takes. Most watch guys can't style their watches for shit. I mean, seriously, they have no idea what they're doing. They never fit into the outfit in any particular way at all. I mean, I've seen it, but it's weirdly rare. There's surprisingly little overlap between watch guys and clothing guys, and I know a lot of guys within that overlap, but it's not huge. If you can't style the accessory, then it's not even an accessory, really. It's just an object that you spent a lot of money on, and you want to brag about having this thing. Whereas when I wear a bespoke suit, there's a question of how I wear it. What shirt do I wear it with? What do I wear it with a tie? Do I wear it with a pocket square? What shoes? And I can wear it different ways and style it different ways and show my taste through that. Whereas within watch culture, you only show your taste by showing, here's the watch I have. That's it. That's the whole story, right? Then you go into a story about the watch and its history, and oh, this has these complications. It's very cool. And that's, you know, a conversation. As a conversation piece, I kind of get it, but at the same time, you're talking about the thing. You're not talking about how you style the thing. Watch culture is inherently hard to get into because watches are so expensive. Because it takes, you know, a few $40,000 mistakes here and there to find the $80,000 watch that's right for you. And yeah, you can resell them, but you might lose a lot of money on them. Because watch culture has such a steep expectation and entry point, it's not something you can test the waters with easily. You can get a Seiko 5, that's fine, but you're not doing it. You're not wearing a real watch by whatever standard. You're just wearing a cheap watch. And the fact that you have to spend a certain amount to have a conversation piece, to be a watch guy, makes it hard to test, makes it hard to see, gee, do I like being a watch guy? Am I going to appreciate the watch for everything it's worth? And then that brings me to the concept of watches as an investment piece. People buy watches hoping that they'll appreciate. They'll never, like, good luck trying to find a watch that's going to appreciate faster than the stock market in general. But okay, let's say you know, it doesn't depreciate effectively as fast as other investments, as a bespoke suit. Because when I buy my bespoke suit, I know I can't resell it. I don't want to resell it. I want to wear my suit until it falls apart. And the same, if I did invest in a watch, I wouldn't want to resell it. I would want to wear it. I would want to use it. So the resale value wouldn't matter that much to me. And I think the resale value makes sense if you're specifically the type of guy who is going to buy 5, 10 watches, enjoy them, truly enjoy them for a few years at a time. Because if you're just sitting on it, you're an idiot. Truly enjoy them for a few years at a time, and then resell them eventually to buy another watch that you will also enjoy. There are people who can make money off watches. They are the exception and not the rule. Generally speaking, if you want to take $40,000 and turn it into more money, you are better off investing in the stock market than in watches. Really, buying a watch is a terrible financial decision unless you really, really get a lot of enjoyment out of that watch. And then maybe the investment piece is another angle on masculinity. Like, we can brag about spending $80,000 on a watch because we can say, hey, I can make money off this, haha. Right? Masculinity and the manosphere in general is all about hustle culture. You can pretend your watches are a side hustle even though they're really not. And I never appreciated hustle culture. I think it's mostly designed to take advantage of men. I don't believe in using watches as an investment piece. I think being able to resell them as a backup is something worth considering, but no, you're not investing in a watch. I do have friends who appreciate watches for their history, their craftsmanship, their design. People really love the font on a watch, or the bezel, or the, some feature or another. The complications. People love a watch with some good complications or some unique complications, and they love talking about the machinery, and they love talking about, oh, it has an open back. I really appreciate seeing those guys get passionate about watches. I do. And I would love to take part in that passion without spending half my bank account on watches, which I could very easily do if I wanted to. Oh, and another note on Rolex, it's so the default. Every watch guy needs to have a Rolex. Every watch guy respects Rolex. Even compared to like Ralph Lauren, people like Ralph Lauren. Every clothing guy respects Ralph Lauren, but every clothing guy knows that there's more to life than Ralph Lauren. Rolex has this godly position within the watch market. It is the gold standard, and even like there's the big three, there's a lot of other watches that people deeply respect, but for some reason Rolex stands out, and I don't entirely get that. I don't see why it's the watch brand. I mean, the watches look cool to me. I don't dislike them. I'm just, what makes Rolex better than Audemars Piguet or Naoyahida or Grand Seiko? I don't entirely understand that. I know it's an old brand with a lot of history, and people think of them as investment pieces, but again, watches are not investment pieces. As a closing thought, I suppose I will share my existing watch collection. It's nothing special, really. This is a Skagen watch. It's super minimal. I put an expensive band on it. This is Shell Cordovan from Shinky. I spent more on the strap than I did on the watch, and I don't wear it because it's so minimal. I don't think it really ever adds anything to an outfit, and if it's not adding anything to an outfit, then why am I wearing it? I also have this Pulsar watch that I bought from a friend. I might still be wearing it, except the strap broke, and it's really kind of ostentatious with the gold and black. And then that brings me to this cheap Seiko, which somebody told me was fake at some point, and yeah, maybe the movement was replaced, I guess, I don't know. But again, it's sort of ostentatious with the gold, and that is what it adds to an outfit, but it's a very specific kind of ostentatious, where it's super cheap and gold tone, which is really specific and only works for certain outfits. So I don't wear it often. I do sometimes bust out that Seiko, but it's really not an everyday watch. And then that plays into my fears. At the end of the day, I could spend $2,000 on a watch, and maybe that would show me what watch guys appreciate. But maybe it would be a watch that I only wear once every few weeks or something like that. A watch that I don't reach for, a watch that I don't appreciate in the long run. And I don't want that. If I'm going to spend $2,000 on something, I want to know that I'm going to love it. And I don't know, I have not seen a watch in that range that I know I'm going to wear every day. Even the Nomos watches, I really like the Nomos watches. I think I would wear them often, probably. But I don't know, because I haven't developed a watch habit. I haven't developed watch taste. I haven't gotten into the culture. There is a barrier to entry. I have to spend that much to appreciate expensive watches, right? I can't fully appreciate an expensive watch until I've owned one. And I don't want to invest in something that I'm risking not liking and needing to resell. I should also say there is the possibility with my now very large Instagram following that some expensive watch brand is going to send me something really nice and that will help me appreciate watch culture all the more. But right now, from my perspective, I see a really nice watch and I enjoy the font and I enjoy the shape of the watch, but at the end of the day, I'm just looking at it and thinking, wow, you spent so much money on that. I could never. Thanks for putting up with this rant. Let's see if I ever edit it.